Welcome everyone to another episode of Plug Talk Sports. I'm joined by Giancarlo as well as my
Yo, yo.
Brandon, and just get our stuff a little started here. We do know that there is a lot of games going on in the NBA, but other stories around the leagues of sports that are probably hard to contain to talk about.
Yeah.
So, but before we just jump right in, as we usually do for this segment, to start off, what was the best thing you've seen this week for you personally?
I would have to say the Bengals beating the Chiefs.
That was the best thing, not the
That,
Rams game or anything like that.
nah, definitely the Bengals.
Man, I don't know, but the best thing I seen was the cold weather that we got in the state of Florida. Because I mean, the last time I was arguing about do my hands go in gloves or not, but I mean, it's a blessing because we have like what, like
Yeah.
11 months of summer is the average here, or at least the expectation. So it's got to be one of the better things to have like 30-degree weather. I mean, how did you find the cold?
Oh no, I love the cold. I always walk out in shorts, chancletas, tank tops. I love the cold. So the more cold, the better.
Yep, the more cold, the better. But speaking of cold, Adam Schefter right now, it's a little bit cold with the NFL and journalism because, according to him, of last weekend, they were talking about he was confirming that Tom Brady did retire. However, Tom Brady came back and said that I'm not 100% talking to the GM of the Buccaneers. And even his dad, Tom Brady Sr., even had a word in as quoting that if anybody believes this news, I mean, they don't really have their mind straight. I mean,
Yeah.
do you think that Tom Brady is potentially this might foreshadow something that we might see in the upcoming weeks from Tom Brady's camp, or do you think that this is just a whole fiasco to get the Tampa Bay Buccaneers back on schedule for promotions for new season tickets?
I personally think that if Tom Brady does decide to retire,
Hmm.
I feel like he would play one more year just so that they can have a farewell season. Like Dwayne Wade, Kobe, if LeBron were to have one eventually, just to have one more year where everybody will get to enjoy it, and hopefully he'll end his career with a Super Bowl, with his eighth. But I don't know, with Adam Schefter reporting, I think at around 1:30 he reported it, and everybody started going crazy. My Twitter started going crazy, and then I started like literally a tear fell down my face. I'm like, no.
It's the end of an era. It's the end of an era. I was
But
actually in
then,
I was actually at Islands of Adventure in Universal in Orlando, and I was on the Donkey Kong or the King Kong ride, and
oh,
I
I
I
hate
mean I
that one.
couldn't believe it. Like I looked at my phone, I got all these notifications. I look at IG, Twitter, and it was all confirming that he retired. And I was like, did did he just retire when I was on the ride? Did I really miss that? Did I really, So I mean, it honestly came as shock to everybody. To me, I feel like if he doesn't retire at this age, because the only thing that's stopping him really is his family.
Yeah,
So, of course, with his wife and his kids, and I mean, he's 45. Of course, you're at that point in your life where you have to
44.
consider, oh, 44, my apologies, my apologies. But at the end of the day, I mean, it almost feels like he's been in this league and he's 60. So, I mean,
Yeah,
he's one of those old heads out there, but still, competing at an elite level where you can even say that he's, better than some of the quarterbacks in the NFL that are
yeah.
below 25 years old. But back to my point though, I just feel that it's only up to his family if he really wants to go back there. I feel it's only just him that's not holding him back. It's either that his personality or it's his family that he has to decide. I feel like he chooses his family. I don't feel like because for me personally, I feel like we've seen the last Super Bowl of Tom Brady's career last year, but I really do believe this might be at least the ending of Tom Brady. I really do believe that.
I, I feel like I don't see why. I understand the family part, but at the same time, I don't get it because they did move to Tampa because of Tom. I mean, if they're living in Tampa and the majority of the time, except for games, Tom Brady is there
Hmm.
only for like basically home games. I mean, it's not like he's not there at all. He's there most of the time. So I'm assuming. that I guess Giselle wants him to just to call it quits and just be an actual like stay at home dad.
Yeah.
But from an interview I saw on YouTube with Tom Brady, his fear of retiring was that he doesn't want to be watching football on Sunday and feel that he could be performing better than most of the guys that are out there playing.
Yeah. So so you think that it's gonna be more or less just Tom Brady is gonna leave everything out of the tank when he leaves. He doesn't want to leave, full, healthy and everything like that, or
I think he wants to play until he knows that he cannot carry a team anymore.
well, that's gonna be a
I feel like he wants to play till he's 50.
oh my gosh, I don't know. I mean, that feels like another decade the way you're saying it though, because I feel like he can carry. Because as long as he has the power to bring guys to him, I mean, he might even bring Julian Edelman out, for the heck of it. To be
Bro,
honest
I'm
with you.
saying
So, I mean, if he can, keep on bringing guys to him, I feel like he'll be in there until he's 65. But
if he comes back for one more year and wins it, I think he retires after that. But if let's say this next he signs for a 2 year contract again, and he continues to break expectations, lead the league in passing, touchdowns, all this stuff again. Why stop? Like what's stopping you from just keep
why
going?
stop? Why stop? Yeah.
Like they would have beat the Rams if his defense was healthy
Hmm.
and if Tristan Wirfs would have been on the offensive line to help because that would have prevented a couple of sacks and that would have kept some drives alive for him,
No, and
which could have been
speaking of keeping things,
potential scoring plays.
yeah, but I mean, keeping of things alive, I mean, he kept Tampa Bay alive in that second half, going
Exactly.
nonstop.
Just
So,
imagine if like in the first or second quarter, instead of it being a punt, 3 points, a touchdown maybe.
yeah, I mean, it's a difference of one possession, really. So, I mean, Tom Brady still has that in the tank. And, I mean, of course, if he retires or not, he's going to be regarded as probably the best to ever do it. So, no
Yeah.
matter what happens, I mean, he's always going to have that ego with him. But sticking with the NFL, to our next topic is actually the best thing that happened this week to you, the Bengals and the Kansas City Chiefs game. Probably another back-breaking overtime loss that we saw from an NFL team. This time going to the Kansas City Chiefs, who lost in overtime. Actually won the coin toss and went to Twitter talking about
Yeah.
we won the coin toss, and they ended up losing the game. I mean,
They
what were your
lost the
thoughts about
game,
that game?
bro. I watched that game from start to finish. When the I was watching the Chiefs just destroy the defense in the first quarter.
Right.
Most of the first quarter, and then they kind of slowed down the second quarter. But the first quarter, it was just picking out the defense like bang bang bang. Mahomes was on fire.
Hmm.
You couldn't miss. But then all of a sudden, I kind of felt that on that on the pass to Tyreek to end the half
Right.
where they didn't get it. I kind of feel like that flipped the switch for them not being able to get that touchdown. So now
Yeah.
instead of 28-3, now it's 21-3, and then they gave him a chance. Now it's 21-10. Now it's getting closer, 11 points, and now Joey B. And they only held him to 3 points the
Yeah.
entire second half, and that was the last field goal kick
Yeah, I
of
know.
the regular time.
Yeah, and it's just miraculous to even say that the Kansas City Chiefs offense this year was held to only 3 points in a second half plus an overtime, you know.
Yeah,
But for me personally, I thought Joey Cool was phenomenal in the second half. But I think the biggest
Joey
story's got
B.
to Joey B, baby. But I mean, that Cincinnati defense, the interception, the overtime, the defense holding the 3 points.
Yeah,
I mean, we have to just talk about Mahomes taking about 15 seconds in the pocket for one moment. The Kansas City Chiefs offensive line was
facts.
gassed after that game. They had to be exhausted. Mahomes had like 15 seconds in the pocket, didn't throw it away for some reason, always getting
Yeah, I don't
sacked.
know. If you don't got it, just throw it away, and that still puts you at the 5 yard line in the end zone.
No, yeah, exactly. And I mean, even Mahomes said in a press conference afterwards is that, it's this loss is mostly on him. It's unexcusable for an offense and a quarterback like himself, his caliber, to lose that game and only give 3 points. And I mean, 21-3 up at halftime. You were expected to dominate, especially as the contending team coming in for the AFC. But as I was going back on my topic, though, I mean, the defense was phenomenal. We're talking about pressuring the quarterback, the
The second
interception
half.
over time that was actually a batted away ball from the safety Bates, which fell
Yeah,
into the hands of Cincinnati. I mean, if you ask me, Cincinnati's defense was the real story in that second half. As
yeah, I
good
agree.
as good as Joe Burrow was on that game, the first half, I mean, they couldn't even find the end zone. When they finally found the end zone, of course, from the mixture of Mixon and I think the probably the biggest underdog is Higgins, the wide receiver
Yeah,
Higgins from Cincinnati. He had a phenomenal game, and he's
I
not
had
talked
him
about a
on
lot.
I had him on my DraftKings. He did pretty good for me.
Really, really, okay, okay, okay. I didn't think you did fantasy football.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was like my first time in weeks. He was like, you know what, Joey B looks like he's ready, so let me use him.
Yeah, Joe Burrow. I mean, it's kind of miraculous what I'm about to say right now. In his second year going to a Super Bowl,
I
and is
agree.
actually in the conversation right now to join the other two Joes, Joe Namath and the one Joe Montana
Yeah,
were both number one draft picks, and they ended up winning a Super Bowl and as well winning a national title. Joe Burrow might join the only two other quarterbacks to do it, and it might be three straight Joes to do it. I mean, it's crazy just thinking about it.
now, the one thing I feel like the Chiefs are gonna have Chiefs, the Bengals are gonna have a tough time dealing with is holding Cooper Cup, Van Jefferson, OBJ, Higby. I don't know. I gotta see what his knee injury is,
Hmm.
but they're gonna have to hold him well. And the thing is, the Rams have experience in the Super Bowl, even though they lost.
Yeah, but
They
they have
did
that
go,
experience. They
so
do have that experience.
that puts them a little bit above.
Yep. And I think the biggest story about that Rams team going into the Super Bowl, even though sure it's the second one with McVay and they've already been there, but it's a whole different squad. I mean, defensively, you bring in Ramsey. They actually brought back Whittle, and I mean he's been like retired for a good couple of months, and he comes
Yeah,
back and he's probably gained more tackles on that team throughout his entire playoff. But the Rams, the biggest thing is that the quarterback position is gonna be on fire. Matthew
yeah,
Stafford comes in a year after the trade with the Lions, takes this team to the Super Bowl. And honestly, if you ask me, I think they're going to get more than 3 points. I think they're going to get more than 3 points than last time.
yeah. I would love to see a Super Bowl like a shootout. I feel like
Yeah,
if both teams are gonna play defense, which I know they are, but I feel like it's gonna be a shootout. I would love to
yeah,
see like a 45-42 score. I would love to see that.
yeah. I mean, I really don't feel like, because as much as said good things about the Bengals defense, I feel like the offense of this Rams team and being attacking the secondary, I feel like this game is gonna go. I mean, over 50 for each side. I think it's gonna be a historic Super Bowl. But I mean, what are you expecting out of that game? Who do you think comes out as the winner of that one?
Um, from what I saw from San Francisco, holding the Rams like most of the game to a low score, and the
Hmm.
same thing for the Chiefs and the Bengals. But it being the Super Bowl and everybody's gonna pull out everything that they have in the book, I will say just because the Rams beat the Bucks and I wanted the Bucks to win,
Right.
I'm gonna say Bengals 38-30.
Wow. So the Bengals over the Rams 38-30. So that means there's gonna be a couple of McPherson kicks at the end. Okay. Okay. What I feel like is gonna happen, I'm actually gonna go on the other side here. I'm gonna say Rams win it. And I think it's gonna be, as I said before, I was bet you take the over in this one. It's gonna both teams are combined more than 50. I think it's gonna be the Rams get 42, the Bengals get 35. That's what I believe. I think that the first quarter is going to be a little bit slow, something that we saw from both sides in these these championship conference games that the AFC, the Bengals didn't do really do anything until the half, and then the Rams woke up after halftime. I think it's going to be the same story. I really do think it's going to be the same story because these are two great defenses, but the more time you have a defense on the field, the more exhaust comes in, and you have Cooper Cup on one side, and the other side you have guys like Chase and Higgins from Cincinnati, and they're going to go crazy on these routes. So I'm expecting that we're going to see more passing yards in history for the NFL. I don't know what the exact number is, but I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised from that. I do have the Rams in that one. I feel like it's a Stafford year. I really do.
All right, but do you think the which defense do you think is going to be like the defense to put them over? Like I don't know if you know what I mean, but
No, of
one
course.
defense is going to have to step up.
Yeah. I feel like the defense that will put them over or put their team over late, it's got to be the Rams. I can't really imagine Aaron Donald second time in the Super Bowl not able to top off something. He looked pretty good in San Fran. He got a couple of sacks on Jimmy Garoppolo, especially the one that kind of forced Jimmy to throw it away for that pick
Yeah.
six to end the game. But I understand that Cincinnati has a good defense and they're on a roll, of course, beating the Titans and then the Chiefs the next week, which is remarkable as it is. But the Rams have something that it's just it has to work. I mean, Jalen Ramsey is a great zone defensive guy. Aaron Donald is a good pass rushing guy. He's a good leader on that defense. And McVay, even though he's an offensive minded guy, he will get the defense going. I can't imagine this team, folding defensively. Of course, as I
Yeah.
did say before, they would give up 35 points, and I'm still, keeping to that. But I feel at the end, it's going to be Aaron Donald final stand. He's going to win that one against Joe Burrow.
Do you think if the Rams, let's say they can't get it, they can't do it, and they lose, what would you think the Rams would need to do to put them over? Like, and make
Like
any
the
changes?
for next season, if they don't win it this year,
Exactly.
well, it's going to be hard because, of course, they're here for a reason. They went through the NFC and they dominated much of the games that they played, even though as close as they were there the entire time being competitive. But if they don't make it this year, I really do find it hard to believe that the Rams can get better. I really find that hard to believe because, of course, Arizona Cardinals were having a shaky year, a terrible home record, yet the team
Overrated.
on paper was phenomenal. And San Francisco, just seeing them in the NFC Championship game with Jimmy Garoppolo, it just tells you that no matter what their record was this year, I mean, they were still a competitor. And that's probably because of the schedule they had in the NFC West. Obviously, beating the Rams 2-0, which is impressive as it is, but unfortunately not able to beat out some of the other teams at home during the year. So if the Rams don't do it, I mean, what else can you add? I mean, maybe some guys in the draft defensively to help out the secondary, but besides that, I just can't imagine the Rams going over.
Yeah, I guess maybe maybe an offensive lineman for to help Cam Akers out. I guess as a running back, but
Hmm.
but I want to know your opinion for San Fran. I didn't think when I watched the game, Jimmy Garoppolo had plenty of chances to seal the game, but he couldn't make the throws.
Right.
Like he overthrew a pass in the first quarter to Kittle, like whiffed it. That would have given them a first down in the red zone. Do you think he can make it in any other team? Because on San Francisco, they don't expect him to do much. Just follow the rules, follow the play, and you're fine.
Right.
He doesn't
Right.
really make that many big plays.
Right. When I look at San Fran and Kyle Shanahan's offense, I mean, the same thing that we saw in 2017 Atlanta when he was the OC there under Bryant. It's the pass and the yards afterwards that really makes the team. I mean,
Yeah.
Debo Samuel was a phenomenal athlete. I feel like, to
Debo.
be honest, Debo, man, I mean, he's got to be, to me personally, a top five receiver in the NFL currently right now. That's what I'm feeling like. And I'm not afraid to, put that plaster in the back of my wall. Debo is a top
Facts.
5 wide receiver in the NFL because of his ability and speed, explosive after the catch. And plus, you can put him as a running back. I mean, how many guys can do that? It means he's big bodied. And I mean, DK Metcalf could probably, I mean, it'll be a challenge for DK Metcalf to beat him in the gym. But for Jimmy Garoppolo's sake, of course, going back to what I was trying to say here, it's a Kyle Shanahan offense. So Jimmy Garoppolo, he was successful in New England for the little time he actually started during Tom Brady's outs. He was successful going into the 49ers. Actually, was undefeated for about a year before his injury, didn't lose until his second year with the 49ers, and going to 2 Super Bowls already with this Kyle Shanahan offense. But if he goes to another team, that means he doesn't have Kyle Shanahan with him. And I feel Kyle Shanahan is the only reason why Jimmy Garoppolo works. So if he goes anywhere else, that's going to be the real challenge. I don't feel like he's going to, be successful, but in the sense of there's a type of quarterback that can only work if there's a specific coach.
Yeah,
Either that be Jimmy Garoppolo with Shannon or Tannehill with Vrabel. He needs a specific coach. So it really does depend where he goes.
I will say if let's say Jimmy Garoppolo, because it reports that this is Jimmy Garoppolo's last season with the 49ers, and he might go somewhere else.
Right.
I feel like if the 49ers can get a quarterback that can throw the ball well and consistently and not have to rely on the running game so much, it'll open them up a little bit, give Debo and Elijah Mitchell some room to run and some good over the head catches.
Hmm.
I feel like San Francisco can be a really decent team,
Right. Right.
but Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't put him over that because he's inconsistent with his throws.
Yeah, but I
So
mean,
if Trey Lance can be that guy, who knows? Maybe draft somebody else.
I don't know. I mean, I like Lance though. I really do like Lance. But if Jimmy Garoppolo's already been this successful throughout his entire career, he doesn't. Besides, of course, some of the throws he makes during these playoff games. I mean, he doesn't give you a lot to say. He's unsuccessful. Because he's been successful throughout his NFL career. But then
I feel
again, you
like
could
his
argue that with
defenses.
other backups.
I feel like his defenses have carried him more than he's carried his teams.
Okay.
Because he's
Okay.
been with the Patriots. The
Yeah,
Patriots have always had a good defense, and
that
then
is
he had
true.
San Francisco, good defense,
Of
and the
course.
offense hasn't been overpowered at all because they don't
No.
really score that many points. So I feel like he's just been doing the bare minimum just so that he can squeak by.
Yep. But Jimmy G, I mean, only time will tell during this off season. So, and actually, we're gonna go switch off from football
Yeah,
because we actually have a question in the comments section here from Dark Sage that they have a question for this panel, but it's about baseball. He didn't put the question down yet, but Dark Sage, if you can hear us, feel free to type in the comments. So we'll
yeah,
be the best that we can to answer your question. But now, speaking of baseball, we have to go and talk about the snubs of the Hall of Fame. The obvious one, Bonds and Clemens. Bonds is a phenomenal guy, San Fran guy, obviously a historic figure in baseball, but is more well known of his steroid use than his accomplishments. What do you think about him being snubbed out of this?
well, I wrote the article for Plug Talk on the website. Go read it if you haven't yet.
Hmm.
But I'm gonna give you some stats here.
Okay, speak away.
Uh, in the MLB banned steroids in 1991, but they didn't test players until 2003.
Mm.
So from what I've just said, that shows me that they banned it, but they just didn't care for testing. So why ban something if you're not gonna test for it until like 12 years later?
Yeah, no, and not even that. I mean, that probably means that there's some guys in the Hall of Fame that, and this just supposedly, but
Yeah.
supposedly might have been, under the influence on steroid use or enhanced drugs.
So yeah, like Mark McGuire, Sammy Sosa, all these players. Okay, and this is before 1999. Barry Bonds in his first 8 years before 99 was He had 8 Golden Gloves,
right?
7 Silver Sluggers, and 3 MVPs. If he decided to retire at that moment, that would be a Hall of Fame career.
No doubt, no doubt. 3 MVPs in all. So it's, I mean, the biggest thing was just, I mean,
It's
obviously
the
a lot.
steroids.
No, obviously. I mean, the baseball writers and the Hall of Fame committee, they obviously want to make an emphasis on, what they want in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
Obviously, Bonds using steroids is heavily against what the league is in Major League. However, it is a part of the history of it, you know.
exactly.
But when I was thinking about this topic, I think the biggest thing that comes to mind to me is that it's the game of baseball. Now, it's not like wrestling or boxing or anything like that, weightlifting, where steroids would obviously make a huge, probably the biggest difference that there is. But baseball is about skill, it's
Hmm.
about agility. It's just to hit a ball at 90 miles per
It's the
hour,
hardest thing in sports.
it's the hardest thing in sports. It's absolutely so. Barry Bonds to do that and the consistency that he was. I mean, he's known for his home run hits, and that's probably
Yeah,
one of the main reasons why he was, MVP in all those years. But it's still the idea that he was able to hit those balls and was to compete at a high
exactly.
level all those years. So obviously, you can't say baseball without mentioning Bonds and Clemens as well. I just feel this is a huge snub, and it's probably going to go as one of the things that will be on the minds of every single baseball fan for a long time, a
And it
real
kind of
long
like
time.
kind of itches me that they gave it to. I don't, I like David Ortiz. He's funny, he's good with the
Hmm.
people. He's a nice guy.
Right.
But also he took PEDs, but you gave it to him on his first try.
Yeah.
So
First ballot.
based on that, knowing that people have also said that Barry Bonds isn't really a nice person,
Hmm.
it's just I think it goes to show. I feel like that this Hall of Fame committee and this Hall of Fame, contest is just for popularity. If they like
Yeah.
you, they like you. If they don't, or you're off.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like in a lot of leagues, not even just baseball, I feel like that's a lot of how some of the committees are done. I mean, Drew Pearson of the Cowboys, a former wide receiver for them, back in the day, and I'm thinking, back when Mr. America was their quarterback. I mean, hasn't got in since last year, and it's been almost 40 something years, I think, when he was able to get, into the Hall of Fame. So, and of course, there's other names at wide receiver and that were much, bigger at the time, but you have to include him when he's a first ballot Hall of Famer that he is and as talented as he was. But they gave him 40 years, and I think because he wasn't really asked to be there yet, I
Yeah,
feel actually the funniest thing about it is that there was a video that went on YouTube about Pearson, his reaction of not being called to the Hall of Fame for I think 2020, and he was emotional because he had this whole draft party and everything like that, and he didn't get in for like another decade. The next year afterwards, he gets in, and I think that's because of the fans and the awareness of just the
yeah.
lack
People
of
falling
attention to
out.
his career.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
so
I also wanted what you pointed out a little bit was if if steroids is such a big problem, why didn't everybody hit like Barry Bonds? That's the big question. If steroids can give you the ability to hit like he was, why didn't everybody take it then?
exactly. And if
Everybody
they
that had steroids, how come they didn't average and hit and on base percentage? Like I don't understand. So you can't really sub them for that. I don't know. I feel like the Hall of Fame committee is they're being a bit hypocritical,
hmm
and I feel they need to change their ways. I mean, Alex Rodriguez never failed a test and was suspended a full year on an anecdotal evidence.
right. So I
Well,
mean,
I
it's
don't feel like it's
obvious.
fair.
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious that there's other players that use enhanced drugs, but it's just the skill of Barry Bonds was different from them, and unfortunately, he was the one that was caught. I mean,
Mhm.
as much as I hate to say it that way, it is what it is. He just got caught. So, but switching gears now, as we move away from baseball, we have to talk now about with the month of February coming in. Not only is the Super Bowl going on in the beginning of February,
Yeah,
but we also have the Winter Olympics, which will be huge coming up for the United States in the hockey side, the women's hockey. won last year over Canada. The men's hockey actually in the juniors wasn't able to even compete because the whole thing got canceled because of COVID reasons. So, what do you feel like it's gonna be the outcome of the Winter Olympics? Do you even feel like the Winter Olympics will even, finish all the way, especially with all the COVID stuff that's going on?
Me personally, I I don't really watch the Winter Olympics, but um, I just usually root for USA.
Of course, you
But
have to.
for your saying for hockey, I don't know. Usually, I know the Russians, Canadians, those teams actually live and die by the ice. Have
Right?
always been a little bit better than us,
Hmm.
but hopefully USA will pull it off. And I don't know. I don't really know what I just don't know. I don't know much about the Olympics for the winter. So
Okay, but what is your? I mean, from what you know of though, which event are you most excited for? Is it
what are the events?
skiing? Yeah, it's the skiing, the ice skating, the snowboarding, the Shaun White. I mean, what do you think was like the one thing when you say Winter Olympics? What's the one thing that's on your mind?
I do like the snowboarding. Um, uh, maybe my grandmother likes to watch ice skating, the finger skating. So
Okay,
I might have to
okay.
watch that, regrettably. Um, what else? Basketball isn't one, right? No, right?
No, no. I wish they did it nonstop, but no, basketball isn't there though.
Hockey, yeah, hockey's one.
Okay,
Snowboarding, probably the ice skating one. That's probably it.
yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. I think there's also one where they have, believe it or not, there's these athletes that go downhill on the skis, and they actually go to these little stops, and they actually do shooting exercise. They do shooting. Yeah, they do like target practice, and then they go back on the hill to the next stage, and that's the whole race. Like it's going down as quick as you can, then you go and shoot at a target. It's almost like hunting practice. You know what I mean?
Whoa,
So, I mean, there's a lot of things in the
I'm
Olympics.
not
Of
watching that
course,
one.
the Olympics is always adding on new stuff. Like last year, they had skateboarding for the Olympics, but the Winter Olympics should be exciting to see for the United States get on the gold. Hopefully, they beat out everybody in men's and women's hockey. And of course, figure skating is going to be an issue against Canada, but we are rooting for them coming up soon. And actually, you did mention about basketball. If it was in the Winter Olympics, it's not in the Winter Olympics. However, there is a lot of things going on in basketball right now.
Yeah,
Especially, I know I'm going a little bit off topic here, but the All Star selection
yeah,
was very, very questionable to a lot of NBA fans, of course. But the biggest thing from that was actually from coming out of the Western side was Andrew Wiggins, first ever time All Star this year out of Golden State, only averaging 18 points. However, of course, everyone has to notice he's coming to the All Star game as a starter for a forward position, not as a guard
yeah.
position. However, do you feel like there was another guy out there in the West that deserved that spot over him?
As a forward, um, think about any forwards. I honestly, I mean, LeBron's always a lock for it, but
No, of course.
Kevin KD's on the East.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
the game.
honestly, the way the Warriors have been rocking so far, I mean, and the way Andrew Wiggins has been playing,
Hmm.
I don't think anybody would have beaten him, even if they. I think there's no forward right now in the West besides like all the superstars.
Right.
I feel like he deserves it. To be honest,
Okay, okay. So, but to
the,
recap,
the Warriors wouldn't
basically,
be where they are.
yeah, but the recap basically on the starters for the West in the guards, they have John Moran, Stephen Curry,
Okay,
LeBron
okay.
James, and Wiggins, as well as
Mhm.
Jokic are the forwards. And then
Okay.
the East, they have, and I feel like the East actually was picked pretty well. Besides one guy, Kevin Durant, DeMar DeRozan, Trey Young, Joel Embiid, and Giannis Antetokounmpo making the East. However, I feel like
You said
Trey Young is very questionable.
you said KD, Giannis,
Embiid, DeMar
Embiid,
DeRozan of Chicago Bulls, and Trey Young of the Atlanta Hawks.
Trey Young.
Trey Young. That's why I
I
find
love Trey
questionable.
Young, but I don't know, bro.
Yeah, because you also have to take, for me personally, if you're making these type of conversations for who makes an all-star game starting lineup at least, you have to talk about records. You have to talk about records. Because James Harden, I felt, was doing pretty good for a portion of the year. Then, of course, he got injured. And then there's also the other side where Jaylen Brown is considered a forward, but at the same time, he plays sometimes as a shooting guard for the Boston Celtics. And even Fred Van Vliet got a huge amount of
Yeah,
votes. Actually, I think eighth in the East for the front court.
man, I'm wondering where's Kyle Lowry in this because he's our number
Mm,
one in the East right now. No
yeah,
one's giving us any love.
yeah, and he's been a huge part of that. And actually, speaking of which, I mean, would you even
Tyler
consider
Hero,
Lonzo Ball as well? I mean, Zach
Lamelo
Levine in
Ball.
Chicago. Oh, LaMelo Ball as well for the Hornets,
Hey,
seventh right
Lamelo
now.
Ball's been balling. I don't care what anybody tells me. I got like 20 of his rookie cards.
Yeah, the Ball brothers right now. I expect both of them to be in the All-Star game. To be honest with you, as reserves. If one of them doesn't make it, it's gotta
I
be
think
something against
Lamelo
their
right
heads.
now should. I think he should be in over Trey Young.
Yes. You know what? For that, I would agree with you. I do agree with you with that. I feel like Trey Young, as good as he is, I don't feel like he should be a starter. There's a reason why he's a two-time All-Star this year.
Yeah,
It's because there's so many good guards out there in the East that it's just hard to even make a reserve spot, you know?
yeah.
It's really difficult. And I know
That's very
Kyrie shows
difficult.
up half year, James Harden has some injuries, but I mean,
Tyler Hero. I feel like Tyler Hero deserves a spot, but he might have to go to the West just to try to get it.
yeah, but I mean that is a very I mean, Tyler Hero going for the East reserves, that's a very questionable because as you did mention before, it's a lot of guys out there that's competitive as guards in the East. But Tyler Hero, I mean, there's no sophomore slump that really stops him, man. I mean, he's back at it.
He's
He's back
on
at
he's on crack right now.
it. He's a different breed. But staying on the topic though, what is the three guys that you feel like are absolute guarantees right now for a reserve spot? And we're going from conference to conference. Because if you ask me, I feel like for the Eastern Conference,
But
the
is it?
Garrett,
Are we went back to conferences, or we went back, or is it pickup teams?
like, well, it's unfortunately it's still pickup teams. However, of course, if the All Stars are decided by conference, and then comes the All-Star draft where Kevin Durant and LeBron in this case will pick out their teams. So it's still going based on conference by conference, but then the teams get scrambled up afterwards after the reserves are
All
called.
right.
But what do you think are three guarantee reserves coming for each conference from the West and the East? For me, I feel like Jason Tatum is one, James Harden, and then I feel that Zach Levine are guarantees for the
All
East.
right. I agree with two of them.
Okay. Okay, which one out of the two you don't agree with?
It was you said Tatum, Levine,
And James Harden.
and James Harden. I don't know about James Harden. Let's be honest.
Really? I mean,
I
I
don't
know
know
he's
about.
been injured, but I mean, like the guy every single time he's on the court, he's giving you 20 a night. I mean, the guy has been a phenomenal facilitator when Kyrie was out. Of course, Brooklyn has been a little bit down in the slumps recently in standings, but he's still putting out numbers.
I feel like he's putting a number because he has to. Now
Hmm.
with KD out and Kyrie out, I feel like he's forced to take more shots than he has to. So that's what it, like gives it shows like the numbers
Hmm.
show that he's scoring points,
Right?
but then there's a exorcist like showing why he does it. But
Yeah. Yeah, because on paper it shows it, but you're saying that when you watch the game, it's a whole different story than what they're seeing on paper.
yeah. So I agree with Jason Tatum. I agree
Okay.
with Zach Levine.
Hmm.
East? Who in the East? Um, is Adebayo in there or not? Right.
In a bio? Well, he's not a
Yeah.
starter yet, but he could be a reserve.
I
That's
well,
what I'm
guess
saying.
what? It's Bio.
Wow, you give it a bam.
Bam
Okay.
Bam.
Nice. But actually, that's also another thing for the Miami Heat and their pair of all-stars. They were injured for a good portion of the first half of the season.
Yeah.
So I feel like as much as I do like Jimmy Butler and Bam, and I do believe they will make the all-star break, but I mean, it's hard to say they're guarantees though, man. It's really hard.
I feel like they should deserve it just because they're in first place.
Right.
They've been missing all the stars, multiple stars. If it's Hero to Duncan to Jimmy to Kyle Lowry to Bam, they've all been struggling with their problem. They've all had their problems, and yet
Hmm.
they're in first place and they don't complain.
Yeah,
The
but you wouldn't
Lakers,
say that's from but you wouldn't say that's from Eric Spoelstra, or would you say that's from the team as a whole?
I say the team as a whole, including Spoelstra.
Okay.
I'm not a big Spoelstra fan, but I'm liking what I'm seeing this year.
No,
I
yeah,
feel
I
like
mean,
if we could continue on this streak, and
hmm
maybe before the deadline we pick up somebody like Serge Ibaka. Supposedly they wanna offer him up. I
oh
would like
wow.
to pick up Serge Ibaka and help, and
Okay.
then put him in on the bench, and then take Bio out and put him in to give Bio some breathing room.
Yeah, and not only that, I mean, that paint will be absolutely bricked up going inside though.
Exactly, which
Yeah,
was
pause.
that was our problem against the Lakers 2 years ago.
Yeah, but let me tell you though, I mean, Ibaka is definitely a name that we haven't heard much from because the Clippers franchise having a lot of injuries with Paul George and Kawhi
Mhm.
Leonard. I mean, is as silent as a mouse every single time that he's even excluded from the media. But going now, speaking of Clippers, to the West side, the three All Stars that you feel like are guarantee reserves from your perspective.
What were the starters?
The starters is LeBron James,
Mm-hmm.
Stephen Curry, Ja Morant, Jokic, and Andrew Wiggins.
Wiggins. All right.
Now, if you ask me, I feel like the guarantee starters, and I need everyone to put respect on his name. Going first is Devin Booker. Devin Booker has been playing phenomenal. The Suns team has been playing phenomenal as well. Of course, you can say it's Coach Williams' system or it's Chris Paul, but Devin Booker is a huge piece of that team. He scores off baskets, on dribble, a facilitator as it is. His defensive game is only getting better every single year I see him. So, of course, it's more of a team that's making that standing to what it is, number one in the West. But Devin Booker is a huge piece of that team. He's a huge piece of the West, and I feel like he should be a guaranteed spot for the Western Conference Reserve. The other two, I would have to say, coming out of the West, it's got to be, and this is going to be hard, but I think Donovan Mitchell out of Utah Jazz should be considered as a guarantee.
Considered or make it.
That because there's not a lot of guarantees in the West. I feel like to me, he's a guarantee. I feel like Donovan Mitchell and that Utah Jazz team has been a huge part of this recent 5 to 3 years of the NBA where you have this Utah Jazz team coming to the playoffs every single year as the number one seed. And the big part of that is Donovan Mitchell. Guy can score, is good on ball. His defense, of course, it's really big help from his wingspan, but it could improve a little bit. But I do feel like Donovan Mitchell is a guarantee. The whole NBA world just has to deal with it, or they could consider about it. And then the last one, I mean, and this is, I mean, I gotta double think about this for the last one because I was gonna say possibly Chris Paul, but I mean, there's other guards in the West right now besides Chris Paul that I like a little bit better. I think one dark horse for the West right now to make the All Star game. I feel like, man,
So you have Booker and you have who else?
I have Booker and Donovan Mitchell as guarantees in my eyes.
Donovan. All right.
Now, a dark horse I feel is Paul George. I'm just gonna say that. I'm not saying he's the third one, but he's a dark horse, especially with his injury and stuff like that. I just want to see him get voted in because the Clippers have been doing pretty phenomenal with the situations they have to deal with. But the team I would have to say, I mean, it's gotta be Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard should be an automatic.
Mhm.
Obviously, it's a little bit of an iffy year with him, but then again, that's just because Portland has been on national television for a while. But he should be a guarantee every single year, and I feel like his all-star status has to keep on going until he's a free agent. But those are my three guarantees, I feel.
I feel like, man, I would put in so these five are the starters. For some reason, I know for a fact because I know LeBron. I know he's the captain, right?
Yes. Yeah, yeah, he's the captain.
If LeBron's the captain, you gotta. I feel like no hesitation. He's gonna put in Anthony Davis, and
Mm.
Anthony Davis is the one that sealed the deal. I think the last one with the free throws.
Yeah, he did. He did, but Anthony Davis has been injured for a majority of this year. I mean, there's a lot of
Yeah,
people that's even joking on NBA Twitter, as rueful as they are. I mean, they're calling him basically glass.
yeah, I agree. I agree. I think he's out again with a wrist injury.
Yeah, so I mean, it also depends if he's gonna be healthy for the All
So
Star game.
I'm gonna put Anthony Davis question
Okay,
mark, and
okay,
I'll agree with Booker. If Anthony Davis doesn't get in, then I'll say Booker.
okay,
I also have to put in. I'll say Luca.
okay. Luka Doncic.
Luca has
Actually,
been balling.
actually, you're probably right about that. I didn't even think about Luka. I'm telling you, they got to give these guys more national games, man.
That's what I'm saying. All they do is put Golden State, the Clippers, and LA, and the Lakers with the Sixers and the Bulls. They never put any Heat games on, so it's like
Yeah, and I
the
mean, they even
Knicks
put
too.
more. They put more New York games than they do anything
Yeah,
else. I mean, from
and
both teams.
The Knicks are 12,
Yeah,
but
12
they just
and
kind of like together. So
no, yeah. I mean, currently it's about. I mean, the top 8 seed going down to the lowest 10 seed is about a span of about a game and a half of each other. Then the first couple of seeds from the number one top seed, 6 seed being the last seed, that's about a span of almost 3 games or so. I mean, only the Charlotte Hornets find themselves in a spot where they can lose 2 games and still be the 7th seed in the Eastern Conference.
well, the Heat just lost by 30 to the Celtics,
To the Celtics, they lost by 30.
122-92.
Wow. Wow. Well, I mean, that's Boston's second blowout against the Heat this
They
year. So,
better
yeah, I
fix
mean,
it.
yep. But then again, the Heat were missing a lot of guys today, especially Kyle Lowry being one of the bigger names. So, of course, this is a loss to a team in the Boston Celtics that were slowly finding their groove back, closing into the second half of the year. But obviously, the Heat trying to stay with that number one spot. They really do need Lowry back. But what are
No,
your other two then?
Booker, Luca. What else? Man, I don't know, man. I wanted somebody like I would have loved to have seen Zion, but he's unhealthy right now and he's injured. So
No, yeah, but then again, Brandon Ingram is there. Obviously, not having a better year that he did when his first ever All Star appearance came out, but he is having some numbers on the floor.
after seeing all this, I don't feel like you could include anybody from the bottom five: Houston, OKC, Kings, Pelicans, or San Antonio. I don't feel like you can include anybody from there because they're the
And
last five.
yeah, not
Um,
even that. They don't really have any real All Stars on their team. Of course, a
yeah,
couple of guys that'll make some appearances, but nothing that's more a guarantee.
I man, is Jamal Murray healthy or is he not healthy?
Jamal Murray currently, I believe he is healthy. I do believe he's healthy.
Hmm.
But what I would, well, actually, I'm kind of curious because out of Memphis, the forward Jackson, you don't think? because he's been a great duo with Ja. You don't think he deserves to
Derek
be there?
Jackson.
Yeah, Jarek Jackson. You don't think he believes to be there as reserve? See a Memphis duo finally back over there ever since they had Mike Conley and Gasol.
Bro, I like Derek Jackson, man, but also what's his other teammate Desmond Bain, the rookie.
Mm,
He's
yeah,
also been balling out this year
he's
too.
he's been balling too. Can't deny that. Can't deny that. And that team is so
Bro,
fun to watch.
how am I missing this, bro? What are we talking about? My boy Anthony Edwards. My
Oh my gosh.
boy AE.
As I said before, it's about public television. These guys are just not on TV too much.
Rookie of the year.
I'm telling you, ESPN, if you're listening right now, get the T Wolves back on television. We need to see some Anthony Edwards
Bro,
back
with
on.
with Anthony Towns, they've been balling, bro. They need a coach, bro. They need a coach.
Yes, it's always been a coaching carousel over there. But also another name, because speaking of the Timberwolves, would you also consider Carl Anthony Towns another
He's
one?
been doing good too.
He's doing pretty good. So,
Oh, and then for the East, I forgot also an honorable mention:
hmm
Seth Curry, his brother.
His brother, you think
I
he'll
feel like
be
Seth.
I
I
don't
think he can. He should be given at least one shot.
yeah, I mean, it would be nice. Of course, I expect him possibly in the three-point contest. I mean, I feel somehow, some way, he's going to be included to this All-Star weekend. But
Yeah,
but an All-Star game, I mean, that's
bro.
kind of
Just imagine
questionable.
All Star game. You see Curry versus Curry, bro. Just like even if it's like not that big of a story, it's just to see it on the court. And you're like, oh boy, he's against his brother. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, I mean, when was the last time we ever seen that at all at an All-Star game? It's
Only
probably been
when they play
never.
against each other, when it's Warriors versus Sixers.
No, yeah, exactly. So, but an All-Star game, we probably never seen it in the history of the NBA. So,
Maybe Lonzo Ball and his brother.
no, they'll probably be the first ones. I can't imagine if one of them doesn't make the All-Star game, I'll be pretty pissed off about it. I'm not gonna lie to you. But now we're getting close to the end of our show here.
Yeah.
So we have to end off because, of course, we're talking about supporting Team USA in the Winter Olympics. But
Mhm.
as we always support them, the men's team for soccer coming up is the last four games of the qualifiers for the Qatar. And they just coming off of a loss last weekend against Canada. It's a 2-0. They lost that one against Canada at away game for them. I mean, it's really hard to even talk about because the United States look like the front runner for the table. They look like they're slowly providing themselves a ladder to get Canada away and just jump right into a guarantee for the qualification. But now we find ourselves where one or two losses, and we can find like below Panama, which would
Yeah.
be a huge reminder that again, Panama made it in 2018 and they're still on their tails. So, what do you think is going to be the future of this USA team as they have to try to combat four games where there's about three of them are must wins?
All right, so I'm seeing here February the 2nd, they play Honduras.
Yes,
I see that as a dub. Honduras hasn't won. They've
a
been on a
game at
5 game
all.
losing streak,
hmm
so that's a good sign. And then for March, they play Mexico, tough game.
Real tough.
Then they play Panama, and then Costa Rica. All 3 games are going to be tough, man.
Yes, and out of those games, a majority of them are against competition that's at least top five in the table.
Yeah, I
I.
got a W for Panama. No, a W for Honduras.
hmm
Man,
We've been undefeated
Mexico.
against Mexico last year, and I feel like that streak is going to continue this year, though.
USA won.
I believe USA will win that one against Mexico. However, of course, we do have a couple of injuries at the moment, but at the same time, in the Gold Cup, we didn't have our full squad there. We kind of have the B group, and then now in CONCACAF during the entire, I mean, I think every single game that we played against Mexico, besides the Nationals, I don't think Pulisic has really been, there on the pitch. So I feel like Pulisic with these last couple of games will be huge, and we should be able to win these games. We should be able to win these games as long as we don't repeat of what happened in Canada, where Canada scored early and then played the entire game phenomenally defensively. And Turner was just having a bad day, if you ask me, because to give up an early goal like that within the 7th minute, I mean, it's unexcusable for him.
I I feel either Panama or Costa Rica is going to be a trap game. One of
Mm,
those two is going to be a trap game, and they need to take it seriously.
yep.
I feel like the Mexico USA might be a draw.
Okay.
It might be
Okay.
a draw.
And do you think that? Because I feel like if we get a single draw in these last couple of games, I don't feel like we're gonna make the qualification though, because this is about. I mean, it's pretty close, man. If we just get 1 point out of these games, I mean, as big as that 1 point is, I don't feel like it's gonna be enough. I think we had to go at least 2 to 3 games straight dubs.
Straight dubs.
Straight dubs. That's what I feel like.
Well, I'm gonna just say something. Honduras has to be a W. If it's
Hmm.
not a W, I have no idea. I would just sell the USA team.
Yeah, but that is. I mean, it's gonna be in Honduras though.
Mexico USA has to dig deep because Mexico always comes against USA as hard as they can
Yep, one of
since
the
they're our
greatest
neighbor.
rivalries in the Western Hemisphere.
And then USA versus Panama. Panama's a sleeper.
Right.
They've won 3 of their last 5, and they've lost once and they draw once. So that's not bad. That's basically that's the same record as us. So they're even right now. And for Costa Rica, they have one less loss than we do. So they're basically equal teams.
Yep. And as I mentioned before, it's all about us as a game away. If the United States lose like the next one and everybody else comes out winning, we'll just drop real quick to about the fifth, the fourth spot. So I mean, it's gonna be a huge game for not only the United States but all these other countries that are coming out late in this qualification.
I feel like USA is gonna have to dig deep for these next 4 games. They're gonna have to show. This is how we know if they're actually gonna try or not. We need to see some kind of like effort on these last 4 games,
Of
because if
course.
not, I feel the fans are gonna retaliate.
No, yeah, they're gonna want answers too, because we're talking about the golden boys of United States soccer. We're talking about one of the best generations that we ever seen out of the national team. If they don't make it this year, I can't imagine them waiting a whole another 4 years. Because every other trophy
Bro.
after that, either a Gold Cup or a national, it's not gonna feel as good as qualifying. It's not gonna feel as good.
And then after the World Cup is in the winter, right? It's in
Mm,
December.
yep, it's gonna be. Even though, believe it or not, the winter for us, it's still gonna be one of the hottest World Cups ever recorded in
Yeah,
Qatar in the Middle East. Yep. So as we repeat ourselves, the United States ended up losing against Canada 2-0, and they find a hard and a must-win scenario late in the qualifications. However, that'll do everything that we probably said. That'll be all for us here at Plug Talk Sports. We hope that you enjoyed this show as much as we did enjoy talking about sports. I was joined by Giancarlo, myself, Brett Hernandez, and we'll see you guys on the next episode next week. Peace.
Deuce.